I think we are live on the show. What do you say, Brent? Are we live?
We are
What
live. Hey
people in the
now.
chat say? Are we live? People in the chat. It's Music Therapy Last year. This is the Music is Therapy show, where, as the description says, we talk about the not the lighter and silly side of rock and roll and the world and life and music, right? But we talk a little bit more on the serious side of things, discuss some of the psychology, the neuroscience around emotions, brains, how our consciousness evolved, and everything about how music is a major role in that. Couple weeks ago we talked about that, right, Brent? I think you learned some stuff. I learned stuff. That's what I love about this show is I learn a lot researching the show. About how music is definitely deeper in our genetic structure when it comes to how our brain developed and how we developed communicating to each other through music and sound before we probably even developed the language and written language for sure. It's fascinating
Well, look at
stuff, right?
a species like we look at one of the most ancient species in birds, and all they do is
Right,
sing to each other. They
right,
don't have the ability to speak outside of singing.
right.
So it's like
Yeah,
it is a little more built in than I think we do realize.
yeah, absolutely. And we're learning more and more about that exact thing. We're learning more and more about how. Oops, so we got that going, so we know it's live. Hobarodi's is giving a moderator another moderator handle it. Thank you, moderator out there. Um, yeah, I invited Janice and Johnny as well as Ron. I don't know if they want to have some input on this. People of the chat, please definitely do have some questions, put some input in there, because this Van Halen, this Brothers book. Here it is. Let me show you guys. This is the book. I'll go ahead and solo me for this real quick. So this is the topic today because there were some very poignant moments there in his interview with Ariel Levy or Levi. I think it's Ariel Levy, and this is one of the signed ones, which is a sticker that he, obviously it makes it a little easier for him to get a stack of these stickers that they call a plate that he signs, and then they stick it onto the book. And obviously, to get cases and cases of boxes, right, would be very very difficult to deal with. There goes my property manager phone ringing outside again, man. In the morning never fails. Anyway, but the bottom line is the book was really an intimate and revealing and touching account of Alex and his brother Edward's life together, growing up in Holland as kids, being discriminated against because their mother, who was Indonesian, or is she was, because she's passed away, was Indonesian, and their dad was Dutch. There was uh, there was discrimination on both ends when he, as a musician, was working. I believe as a musician. I'm not sure. He might have been in the military, I think, at that time in Indonesia. The Dutch were known. The Dutch trading company during the colonial times of nations in the world, right? Um, Nations like the Dutch were famous for having they were the Vikings, right? The seafaring people that they were, right? And they had colonized to a degree many places around the world, um, because their resources are there. And so they were after those resources, just like every other country in the world that had the ability to put people on a boat and go look for gold or any other resource, even people, as we know, people or a resource, and was used as a resource, as a commodity, which is, now we look back on this going, wow, that's sad, but that is something that is still occurring even today,
Yeah,
honestly. It's
people
a
still
terrible tragedy.
human trafficking. I feel like is
Human
looked
trafficking.
definitely looked upon now as a bad thing, which is good. But people are still stealing resources. That's still happening.
Absolutely. Well, those people are part of those resources, and sometimes nations will force upon other nations, circumstances that cause them to maybe be in a not as high of a status level when it comes to quality of life and all these. I mean, we can see it, with the laissez-faire, attitude of the United States in South America. But we won't get into all the politics today. That can get us into a lot of trouble, especially with what's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, right? A lot of controversy around this election, a lot of mudslinging on both sides. But hopefully we will manage to carry on and
I did like. Did you
do
see
the best we
Phil?
can.
Did you hear Phil McKnight's response to that whole thing? Kind of.
No, I didn't get a chance to watch his whole or
It
listen to
was.
his whole Friday show.
He had a really good take on the whole thing. He said, no matter what happens, just believe in yourself. Just keep
Yeah.
doing what you know. No matter what happens, just double down on yourself. But keep betting on yourself. Work your ass off. Do what you got to do,
Right.
and
Right.
find a way. Don't make
I mean,
excuses.
we have no
I
other
like this
choice
take.
anyway. Yeah, we have no other choice anyway. So,
exactly.
Whether your fight you believe is the good fight or not, we're all fighting for the same things, and that's to have the freedom to live the life we believe we have the right to live as human beings and creatures on this planet. We believe we have free will, and we believe we should be able to exercise that free will as long as it doesn't hurt other people. And that's always been, the golden rule has always been my way of looking at how to live the world. And it's not the one that who has the gold makes the rules rule. That's one golden rule I've heard jokingly spoken about. The other golden rule is treat others how you'd want to be treated yourself, right? And if you do business with others how you'd want to have business done with you, like in the story here, Brothers by Alex Van Halen, maybe they wouldn't have suffered as much tragedy in their lives if that was the case, But it's an easier said thing than done, because a lot of people scrape their way up to the top, the heap, if you want to call it that, and they don't want to, release that position to anyone else because they'll be below, the people on the top. And instead of a collective working together for everyone to be, all boats rising, everyone be on the top, it's like this competition. By the way, I'm not wearing sunglasses on purpose. I took out my contacts yesterday when I was at the event that I was playing keyboards and guitar at. Got to play guitar on a song. Yay. that was a big yay for me, because
Nice.
I love playing guitar. And it's an easy one. God Save the Queen, And I didn't have my modded out Les Paul, punk rock Les Paul, ready for that one because I just didn't have time. So I just took my Meteora, because it's black and silver and it works for the Halloween event kind of thing. So I'm wearing my progressive lenses here, which are supposed to be polarized, and I don't understand. Isn't polarized supposed to be like when you're inside it lightens and when you're outside it darkens, or am I wrong? I thought that's what it meant.
No, polarization is just it helps with like the refracting.
Okay,
you're talking about transition lenses.
Transition. So I asked for the wrong thing then, because I thought that's what I was asking for. So I'm gonna go get a pair of transitions and see if it works for me, because that's really what I hope these would be. But these are great. These are great for driving. I get to see everything inside the car up close to me, and then I can see everything far away. So like right now, it's not really working great because I got to lift my head like this to see from the bottom half well, whereas over the top, everything's blurry. So I'm kind of going like this all the time. It's just kind of weird. But let's say hi to the chat, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Has anyone bought the book? So everyone in the chat, if you don't mind telling me, give me a yes or no. Who's bought the book? I know Johnny has. He's saying, yo, hi, I'm at the store. And I bought the book. Along with it came a ticket. Johnny bought a book and got 2 tickets. He was going to give me his ticket, and I was going to take Brent. That was our original plan. But Brent had to work, which is all good. I'm glad you're working. That's awesome. Hobarodi's one of the first in the chat, too. I'm sure there was some other people that popped in as well before they get kind of wiped off the slate for some reason by StreamYard and YouTube. But Blackjack Guitar, what's up? Saying hi to Hobarodi, our good friend. And then we have, let's see, Mark's Gas Station next in. And then Mark was doing the last thing, the LAZ. I think he started it, and then I don't know where the rest of the letters went. And then we got Bay Area Rich. Great seeing you meet up with Johnny the other week. I think it was last week, right? Or the week before. Super cool that you bought him a gig bag, I think, and gave him that guitar, which is made by another one of these like Chipson type brands. I call Chipson because they're made in China. You don't really know where the factory is. You don't really. Okay, maybe they'll be around 5 years from now. Maybe they won't. But it looks like he likes it to some degree. But some of the parts on it don't really look like they're gonna last or work very well. So they got to be replaced. John ZD351. I haven't seen you in a while, dude. Nice to see you, bro. Thanks for joining. I'm sure you're here for the Van Halen stuff, right? And then Brian Mersman. Right on. Greetings from Bay City, Michigan, right? I was listening to some really interesting stuff. Eminem had something to say, to his Detroit brethren in a recent thing I saw on the news. Eddie Fay also here saying hi to us and friends. Holly Lewis, what's up? Good morning and good afternoon to some, right? Greasy Monkey, where are you guys from? Where are you guys from? The East Coast, West Coast, Europe? So what's nice about these morning shows is that you do get the European crowd. Like we'll probably see Martin pop in at some point. Holly saying hi to JB. Yeah, for a minute. Okay, I thought I was at the Van Halenville show, which I'm about to unleash my tongue about. Oh, okay. Do tell. There have been some interesting comments recently. So, all right, first answer. No, I have not. Okay, not the very first. Bay Area Rich has bought the book. So we've got one person who's bought. Has anyone else heard any of the audiobook? Because I got to tell you, man, worth it. Johnny bought it, $17. We listened to it. He already listened to it. And then he put up with listening to it again with me on our drive down to LA early Thursday morning. Can we see the T-shirt? Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Let me solo me. Of course, Holly. You can see.
It's a great T-shirt.
It's basically the cover of the book, but then he's got a heart around. Where is it? Ed's face. Brothers Van Halen. And the reason why I titled the show today the way I did is because I did definitely want to talk about, the trials and tribulations, the good and bad, right, of realizing your dream, becoming the greatest rock band in the world, that Van Halen became, right, with and without Dave. And that one interesting question that I was really, really hoping that was going to be asked, but I think because Ariel is a writer or producer of sorts, I mean, she helped Alex put this book out, right? And it seems like Alex, wherever he is about this emotionally or whatever, he's got his prerogative for his feelings about it and why he hasn't talked much or may not talk ever, about his feelings about Sammy and all that. He had a few things to say about it, but I mean, one of the questions I would have liked to have asked is that, are you going to write a second book that takes you from 1985, 86 period, where Van Halen broke up further? Are you going to tell us the whole story? What's the rest of the story? And there's a storm a brewing. Yeah. Are you talking about in the Van Halen world, Holly? Or are you talking about, okay, Greasy Monkeys in Los Angeles. Did you go? Were you there? Yeah. Oh, Let Chat was actually first in the chat. Usually that gets wiped. I guess not this time. That was about at 9:30. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird how it works. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point here. So no, I haven't bought the book. These days I have lost interest in learning too much about who makes the music. Yeah, and there's a good thing about that, what they say is it's sometimes better to be a mushroom. Right? You're not exposed to the light. You're not exposed to all the crap. And that's part of the reason why I kind of ditched that whole scene back in the late 80s. Pretty much from the mid to late 80s on. I still went to shows. Like I went and saw Yngwie, Rising Force. I went and saw Last in Line. I went and saw Dio. I went and saw Pink Floyd. So I went to all the rock and roll stuff. I saw Satriani. I saw whoever I could that I liked. I would have gone to Van Halen. I went to Van Halen, but the tickets were in my cousin's car, so I couldn't go in from the parking lot, and that was devastating. But the bottom line is that, yeah, sometimes you don't want to be part of the drama, and definitely, I don't appreciate that part of it, so I don't like to talk about it. I think it sucks when you see online now too, story after story after story about how Alex is dissing Dave or Sammy or Michael or whoever. No, he didn't, man. He didn't have anything negative to say outside of that. He didn't have a he didn't really like Van Halen 3 with Gary Sharon. I don't think he wanted to do that. And Johnny talks about that being Edward Van Halen's solo album. And maybe maybe Van Halen should have done a solo album. But I think Ed Van Halen, already did movie music. He could have done so much more, but the pressures of being the rock and roll guitar god thing really, I think, really got to him. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about here today in the Music is Therapy show, because I think we should bring a little knowledge and a little understanding on the therapy side of things. Like Alex said in his interview, they didn't have, and in the book too, they didn't have the advantage of knowing about things like meditation or really, having the exposure to anything like that. The drugs
Well,
came so quickly and early on in the drinking,
back
from the
then, I
influence
mean,
of their father.
the acceptance of talking about mental health is a very recent thing. You
That's very
know,
true. Yeah.
mental health was looked at as like, if you have something wrong with you, there's something wrong with you. Like, there's no
Yeah, the
fixing you.
stigma.
Like, there's
Absolutely. The stigma of getting healthcare, mental health care, right? Because
so
people are afraid to get it.
so when it comes to, yeah, no, totally, because
If
there,
you have a job,
there's
let's say you're a
like you said,
CEO,
stigma.
exactly. Let's say you're a CEO or you're president or whatever, and then people get wind of that. Oh, you went to mental health counseling? Oh, what's wrong with you? We can't trust you now. What's funny is that Harvard did a study on this way back in the 60s, I believe. And they discovered that over 85% of Americans from all positions of life suffer or have suffered by some mental health illness. Now, they got so shocked by that revelation of that information, that data, they didn't put it out because they thought that they would scare the crap out of Americans, and I think that was a big mistake, because they should have put out the truth. They should have said, look,
Yeah,
what we're saying here is that we all are human and we all suffer just like physical ailments. Try to get through life without some physical health problem. You're either going to break a bone, or you're going to fall down, or you're going to whatever. You're going to have something, right? It doesn't make you any less capable of a person, you know. Look at Stephen Hawking. That's a perfect example, right? Look at anyone like that, right? Who suffers by some whether it's mental or physical, or emotional
right
or
in our
whatever.
right in
Yeah,
our community, man. Jason Becker,
that's right. Jason Becker, exactly, right?
still making music, man.
So the stigma, I remember when I was studying psychology in from 2010 to 2013, roughly that period of time, I went back to school to study psychology and get a degree. And I got a 2-year degree, transferable psych degree, and even acceptance to the Palo Alto University here in California. That's very closely associated with Stanford. And that's part of the reason why I went through that program, because they have a VA hospital there, and they're at the pinnacle when it comes to dealing with PTSD and other things. And that's really what drove me to want to go back to school. I wanted to do something that made a difference in life. If I can make a living at helping people, deal with everything from an accident, car crash, personal trauma of some sort in their lives, PTSD, to any other type of, you know, suffering. If I could find a way to work in a field where I can help people with that, and because I have musical talent, I thought, let's combine those two and do that, and other life events changed, that trajectory in my life, and that's all fine. But that's why I do this channel, the Music is Therapy channel, and the Music is Therapy show in the Music Therapy Labs channel. That is. That's why I do it, because I want to make a difference in this world somehow. Because I feel like I've gained. All right, I'm grateful. I consider myself lucky that I'm one still alive after all the crazy stuff I've been through, and like Alex talks about too with Ed. As a matter of fact, he tells a story where Ed is actually dead. He actually died at one point and came back to life. He was actually dead, and they brought him back. So that's something I never heard before. I wonder if Ed, had a near-death experience, because that's very unique. Very interesting stories about people that have near-death experiences.
What was the circumstances of that?
I can't recall. I don't know if
Okay.
he even gets into that.
Okay.
But he does, he does die at some point for a few seconds, like half a minute or something like that. I didn't say, I can't recall exactly the time. It might be in the book. I do have some points in the book where I was listening to the audio book all the way up to about chapter 11 with Johnny, and there's 14 chapters. So I'm here now, at this point in the book right now, which is, not much left. There's like that many pages, right? Because I've listened to it all by the voice of, Alex. And I highly recommend that if you guys want to be in for a treat, I'm telling you, man, paying the extra $17 for the audio version of him reading it and chuckling at times and stuff. His character comes across just like in the interview that we saw live. He doesn't have to make any excuses or any apologies to anyone for any of his feelings about any of the stuff, whatever the dirt is that people are reporting on that Alex this guy. He didn't. He just told it from his perspective. He has reasons, as he said, why. He has some, reasons he's not talking to Hagar right now, and that's that. That's it. He has his feelings about that. It might change, it might not. It's up to him, man. There was a lot of wisdom in that for a lot of other up and coming musicians, and that's why I titled this, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They definitely lived it, they experienced it, the depths of it, every depth of it that you can. Love and Love Lost with Valerie. Whereas Alex was able to learn. I think maybe because he had so much more exposure working with his dad as an actual musician well before his age. And you can never get away with that today. You can never get away with someone that young playing in bars, being exposed to everything, the sex, the drugs, and whether it was jazz or rock and roll. It was the music, the musicians on the road, musicians' life that Alex really more deeply learned from at a very early age. And I think that hardened him a little more, and because he was the older one, and as he says throughout his book and interview, that Ed was the sensitive one. He was much more introverted and more sensitive, and Alex was like, he didn't need or have any intention to do or need to do something like cocaine. He was already 100%, 1,000 miles an hour anyway. And the one instance where he talks about in the book, the one instance where he does, I don't know if it's in the book, but the one instance where he does try it, because they say, hey, try that, they said, dude, never do that again. Never do that again. Because, and he promised he never would. So, and he was the one who was able to, through the 12-step process, that if they knew about that back in the day to help their dad and stuff, but they suffered but also, they got a lot out of this rock and roll lifestyle and the tragedy and all the tribulations, as I say, right? So let's read.
Well, they're there. They're in the heart of it for sure. They're right in the middle of the rock and roll revolution. So
right. And I mean, look at. I'll just say this before I read some stuff from the chat, if anyone has a question. But Wolfgang Van Halen obviously has had to deal with a lot of it, and he has done the most. In my mind, he's a very grown-up kid, because he's not a kid. he's a very grounded human being, having gone through all of that, because it's not easy watching your parents break up over what happened, right?
Well, it takes a certain type of personality to learn from others' mistakes and not make
He
the
could
same
have
mistakes
he could have
yourself.
gone down the same path as his dad, even, you know.
Well, he could
But
have
I
been worse. He could have been a
yeah,
nobody and never been talented in the first place, and just wasted his life on drugs and alcohol or whatever, and just never even put out music
you
and
know,
just became, a loser of a son. He could have
yeah.
done that, and he didn't.
I'll
That's
say
why
that he didn't.
people need to have some respect for him for sure.
Yeah, and I think the reason why he didn't was because his father was such a good father to him when he wasn't
Yeah.
drunk or on drugs.
Mhm.
And as from a young child on, he was part of that. There's that scene where he runs out on the stage and hugs his dad in the middle of a solo kind of thing. He was part of it when it was good.
Right.
And so he had the grounding of that. He had the memory of that, the love that Eddie and Valerie shared with their son and family, irregardless of all the drama around them, which is
See,
always going
that's
to
the
be
best
there.
thing in the world to me right there. You just said it, is family,
Family.
that'll cure so
Yeah.
much,
And this book,
that'll
what's the
get your
title?
that'll get yourself motivated if you have,
All right.
family to fight for and fight
It was,
family to work for.
I mean, look at Mozart. He didn't have a brother. Alex and Ed had each other. And that's why, they lasted as long as they could have, right? So let's see what people have to say. Scott Hawk is also here. What's up, dude? Yeah, I'm just over here talking to myself in the chat. I'm trying to help. Okay, sorry. I wasn't watching because when I'm talking, I can't read. It doesn't work in my brain. Anyway, so people saying hi to each other, and then who didn't go, who went. Nice strap, Octo. Yeah, that's your. Who makes that one?
Yeah, it's a Franklin strap.
Franklin. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
one of those.
I'm
Oh no, I
I'm
gave it
using
away. I gave it to my sister. I
I'm
mean, my
using
daughter.
I'm using this one right now because it's a little bit lighter than the Oxblood one.
Magic Octo admission, Brent person. Yeah. All right. Great point here, Bay Area Rich. Absolutely. So, how far have you read into it? Clearly, yeah, that's a nice one. Nice. Yeah, those are great straps. Clearly, this was a very cathartic experience for Alex to write this book. He doesn't owe anything to anybody. So the fact that he did this, whether he did it for us, the fans, or whatever, or he did it for himself, I really do think he did it for the fans too, though, because his auction is a very telling expression of his love for the fans. Because he could have kept all that stuff. If he wanted to
Well,
make money, he could have kept it until the value of it went up and gave it to his family so they could sell it. But I think he realized that they don't need it. And secondly, he wanted to give some kind of a gift to the fans. He couldn't go out and play because he broke his back. So he had a broken back from 2022 on. He was trying to put a show together. He was really trying to put a tribute show together. He really was. It was just falling apart around him. Dave didn't want to do a tribute to Edward, which is just astounding to Alex. Alex says, in the book, he's like, fuck you, motherfucker. That's the exact words he says. Like, what the hell? Because that guy's ego is just too big for himself. I mean, can you imagine how stupid do you have to, as smart as, I'm sorry for the fans of Dave. I'm a fan of Dave too. How stupid are you? You know, really? Or is he that afraid of really not being able to perform and that's his way of getting out of it, right? Because he's worried about that he can't really pull it off anyway. So how stupid are you to not want to do a tribute to the guy who really put you on the map? Because I'm sorry, Dave would never have made it without Edward Van Halen. And that's
well,
fact. Whatever you can say about however talented and a great front man he is,
he could have maybe
he
made it as in some band being a frontman, but he would have never been, David Lee
nah,
Roth.
the musicianship that was behind his lyrics and everything, if it wasn't for that, he would never have made it. The band that he was in the book, there's a lot of about that story, and you'll learn about that if you read about it and stuff. And you can do your own research on Dave's early career. But the bottom line is that, he was trying to become a star, whether it was a rock star or an actor or whatever. Soonest shot that he can, whatever door he could get his foot in through, he was going to put his foot into that. and he's done it throughout his life. He's put his foot through that door. All right, Holly has something to say here. Yeah. Laz, I just watched a great Mayim Blasick show that I was going to send you in Messenger. It was about the brain, and this was an Indian doctor who had so much good stuff to impart. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff like that out there. Yeah, it was in the book. Yeah, my book doesn't ship until the 29th, the day I'll get to see the Culver City interview. That's awesome. Yeah, so you opted for the book and the video of it. So I wish that we would get a copy of that too, because we were there, but we were there. And it was nice to see Amanda Peters, by the way. We saw Lori Tucker was there. Rob was there as well. Pierce, Amanda's boyfriend, who works at Bad Cat. And
Yeah.
I think Johnny was asking him, what does Amanda do? Does she work at Kramer right now, or where's she working? I'm not sure exactly. And the last time I talked with her, she was working in the finance industry in some way. Yeah, you can download it and it will always be available to listen to. Don't forget to cancel. Cancel what? Anyway, I'm not going to cancel anything. No. All right, my brother Maharishi Bob does not give even half of a bleep about petty worldly problems since he died and came back. He is digging the Crown Victoria. I'm glad I got that to him. Okay, right on, man. Alex and Valerie are both Taurus. Huh. Very grounded.
I'll tell you that my near-death experiences have really calmed me down. That's for sure. It's really
Right?
made me not worry about so much. Just play guitar and live good life, man.
Yeah. Right? Treat others as you'd want to be treated and try to make a difference in the world. A good one.
Yeah, luckily for me, I grew up with, my parents were really strict, and they made sure that I was, a good person when it came to treating people the right way. And it's been something I've always worked on. So now it's somewhat effortless because I don't have to think about it. I just generally treat people nice, and I try to keep that consistent.
Woody, be real, man. That was great seeing you there. Like, this guy comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, Laz," and I'm like, "Hey, what's happening?" And I'm like, "That was you, right?" I wish I knew everybody. I'm like this even with my own family members. I have family members back in Hungary, and I'm like, "Hey, nice to see you again." I'm like, "What's this person's name?" I'm terrible. The worst at this kind of stuff. You just finished reading it. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, so I still have about maybe a chapter or so to go. I'm on chapter 4. No, chapter God, I don't even know. I'm in there somewhere. Anyway, Trash Metal. Yeah, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. 98 million of what? 98 million. So what is his net worth? I don't even care. I don't care about these kinds of things. I don't think that is a measure of anything. I think how much you're worth. You know what? I have 0 in my savings account. How about that? I'm worth nothing, apparently. No, I think value of human beings is much more than what the dollars are in their bank account and what other people say their value is. He has enough money to sell his drums at auction for a good cause. How about that? And I'd like to be in that position where everything I do is for charity. As a matter of fact, that is my hope and ambition and dream has always been, really, is to create a nonprofit that I can survive by. I don't need to be a billionaire.
I got an answer that no one's going to like.
Hold on, let me finish.
Sorry.
If you can remember, don't forget it.
Yeah.
Put it in your brain. All right, tuck it away. But I have an ambition to create a nonprofit organization where I and others could make a living while helping people. And whether it's making products or doing things. I had this conversation with my cousin Joe one time, like, you know how we change the world? We make nonprofit organizations that make everything and we sell it at cost, and we're not trying to make a profit. We're going to sell it at cost, and we're going to grow that entity or entities and spread this around the world so that it's not about making money. It's about making good things that last so people can live a decent life with less. And so we can all rise and spend less on better products and better things and make each other, be able, all people could reach a standard of living without destroying the earth for profit and destroying, you know what I mean? Wouldn't that be something? That would be like, if I could write a song about that, like John Lennon did, Okay, hit me with your thought.
My it's very simple, but it's gonna bug people.
Man,
But when we're
that's all
talking
right.
about
It's good to bug people.
who's worth this and who's worth that, we're all worth the same.
Yeah,
Guess
yeah.
what? We're all equal.
And the thing
A
is
hard
that,
reality for people to swallow, but it's true.
yeah, Alex didn't mention Ray Daniels, and he didn't mention Wolf, really. He does mention him during the interview,
Sorry.
I think. Yeah, me too. So, Holly, thank you for mentioning that. By the way, Amanda did put up a GoFundMe to help her with the costs of the specialists and whatever she's going to need when it comes to help, healthcare wise. She did find out finally, even I'm sorry to say this, but man, our healthcare system is just not where it needs to be, and we all know that. How to fix it? The only way that's going to happen is we take the money out of it, and that's a tough one too, because then you're socializing medicine and blah blah, and everyone's afraid of communism attacking us and taking us over. Bottom line is that almost every other country that has the money that we have, or at the level we have the level we're at as a first world country, if you want to call it that, they all have a at least bottom of the barrel, if you want to call you, they all at least have a minimum healthcare offered or given to the people, so they don't have to stress about that when it comes to their jobs. I mean, people are in jobs today because they can't change their job because they're worrying about losing their healthcare. What kind of world is that? Are we really free? No. That's my answer. But he didn't mention a lot of people, and that's okay. He talks about what he wanted to talk about, his story. He was
That's why I'm living how I'm living, because I am free. But
exactly.
it comes at a price.
Well, that's that one truth to that is that you're only as free as you want to be. That's something that I truly believe in. You will create your own hell and heaven for yourself, right here on earth. So it's up to you. And the tough part is if you don't have people around you and good support, family and whatnot, you're going to suffer more because it's harder to kind of figure things out without at least some guidance. Yeah. Yeah. Music therapy heals the soul, right, Tim? Thank you, Tim. Full power. Thanks for joining us.
Laz is Jewish,
Yeah.
apparently. I'm just kidding.
Well, aren't we all? Because according to their Bible or book, we all came from Adam and Eve, so we're all Jewish. Right? If they believe Adam and Eve were Jews, then we're all Jewish.
I don't know if Adam and Eve
That's an argument I've had with Jewish people all the time. I'm like,
Adam and Eve,
look,
isn't that a Christian story? I don't know. I don't know my religion stuff.
No, in the beginning is Old Testament. Mm-hmm. If it all started with Adam and Eve, apparently we're all the same people. So I say we're really all. The difference is ideology or religiosity or what the laws of man kind of stuff. Where we start making rules to govern each other or whatever, or rule each other. So all right, let's see what Bob C. Thanks for joining, Bob C. 22 people in the chat. Thanks for hitting the like, by the way. Somebody in Facebook up there hit the like. He did say he still had his silver sparkle Ludwig. Yeah, he bought new in 71, right? Yeah, he's still playing. I mean, he is not giving up playing drums. He will die playing the drums, if he has to. Those are the most important drums. They were at all the backyard parties and clubs and used up until the second album, right? The thing about Alex, which I really admire, is he was up there straight talking, telling it like it is from his perspective, his feelings about it, whether or not Sammy was actually going to retire before he joined Van Halen or not. It's if that's really true or not. He might have actually just gone into the Cabo Wabo business and done rock and roll with whatever bands that he wanted to just for fun. He would have done what he's doing now, whether it was with Van Halen or not. He would have done it. I mean, when you talk about Sammy as a rock star, All right. He was already a rock star. He wrote some rock star hits in the late 70s and early 80s. Everyone heard and loved I Can't Drive 55, or, you know, a lot of those songs,
Heavy metal.
heavy metal. One way, what's that one where he's like, where's that? What's that rock and roll anthem one, that the other one that's like, um, only one way to rock. That's a killer rock, dude. That what lyrics? I mean, a simple, kick-ass rock and roll song. There's only one way to rock. It's a great song, man.
There's only one
Yeah,
way.
see, there you go. Everyone knows that song. I mean, you're not even born in the 80s, like, or grown up in that time like I was a teenager. I was class of 84, so that was my era, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the problem, Holly. We're living in an oligarchical society here too. Sorry to say, it's true. They took over our politics with Citizens United, and they gave it all to the corporations. Have taken it all over. So until we can fight for our right to take it back, and that's what I always argue. Whether or not it's from whatever party, I don't care what party it is. I'm always about policy. Do you have a policy that aligns more with mine? I don't care what party you are. Honestly, I would be more Green Party than anything, policy wise. But they don't even have a congressman, I don't think. So you're not going to get very far with them. But you can influence, right? Or Afrikaan, right? Yeah. Yeah. So any questions about the show? You guys want to ask some questions? I was there. So what do you want to know? Johnny and I talked quite a bit about it after the show. So I did do a live stream talking about the event on the way back to our hotel room that we stayed in. It did have a bathroom, Brent, just like the other one did. And Johnny was making it, so funny. We're joking like, hopefully this one has a bathroom. The last place we stayed in LA, when we opened the door to get in, it opened against the bathroom door, and we couldn't find the bathroom. And I even went outside and I said to the guy, "Hey, where are the bathrooms here?" And he's like, "It's inside." I'm like, "Where? We're not finding a bathroom," because the door, the whole time we were unloading and stuff, the door was against. He's like, "Right there, there," and I'm like, "Can you show me?" Because we're not finding it. He's like, "Behind the door." I'm like, "Oh." It was pretty funny. Yeah.
That was that whole situation was hilarious.
Van Halen pushed Montrose off the turntable. That's funny. I think they wanted Sammy for Van Halen before. I mean, after they signed. I think before or after. I think after they signed him, they were trying to replace, Dave right from the beginning. But good for them that they didn't, because Alex talks quite a bit about what really they realized they needed to get to the next level, irregardless of what great musicians they were. He knew from his experience playing drums with his dad's bands, there are some genius great players out there playing in bars getting nowhere, barely enough money to feed their families, just like their dad was. The Brown sound actually comes from their dad's, I guess, perfectionism of wanting to perfect the sound of his clarinet with the reed being perfectly cut, so he had a very woody tone. And that's where that term comes from, really, is the Brown sound. They were looking for this unique tone of theirs. They were looking for that specific tone that was their voice. So I think the Brown sound is what they're saying is their voice, right? Their dad was looking for his voice as a clarinetist and a saxophonist. And one of the things Alex learned on the road with his dad, or out performing and playing in bars and whatever with his dad, was that you can be uber talented and barely have enough money to feed your family. So they had to they learned from their mother and their father. Their mother was, smart. She's like, you should get a suit and get a job. But what they learned from her, I think, is that if you're going to do something, do it at the highest level you can, and that's what Ed was doing and Alex was doing too. They took from both their parents the knowledge and experience, and then Alex's drum teacher, or one of the guys who was teaching him, one of the other professionals that he learned a lot from, I forget his name now, he talks about it in the book, who taught him some very valuable lessons about being a professional and what it takes, and they realized that as a band, not just that Ed was doing the singing and playing the guitar, he didn't like the spotlight. They knew that they needed someone who likes the spotlight. They needed someone that was flamboyant and flashy, that would be able to step out on that stage and do what Dave, they saw him throughout his early career. They saw Dave at the backyard parties. That's where they first discovered him. They were actually supposed to put on a show at a park, showed up there without equipment that their manager, supposedly told the park people that the band's going to be there ready, and they didn't have a PA in the system to run a stage or anything like that to run the show. And so they just said, screw this, we're leaving. And then they came back a couple hours later and saw Dave's band up there playing. And they're like, hey, what the F is going on over here? And so they stepped up there and they were chatting with them about it and whatnot. But the bottom line was that they realized that you need support. You need some money backing you. Dave had that. He had the PA and he had his dad. There was some support behind that. And they realized that they had to work hard. They had to scrap for anything. Dave never took, he you might think that he grew up with a silver spoon. He didn't care about the silver spoon as much. I mean, trust me, yeah, he likes the silver spoon, but he wanted to do it his way, and he wants it all. He wanted it all, and he wants it all. He's just, he's one of those guys that he wants to do it all. I'm like that too sometimes. I want to do it all. It's only so much life you can do it all in. And the bottom line is they realized that they really needed someone like him. And can't talk. Alex speaks about Dave, and he has a reverence and respect for Dave, because they needed Dave. They wouldn't have made it without Dave either. That's another truth, that whether or not people want to accept that, look at all the other prodigy players out there. There's thousands of them on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, right? Right, Brent? How many other players can play circles around you, right? Does it make you feel like, oh, I should stop playing guitar? I'm never going to be able to beat them. It's not about beating them. It's about finding your own voice and telling your tale and expressing what you want to express into the world. And they knew that to do that, they were going to need someone like Dave. And it worked. And they went through years of struggle to get to the point where they signed, right? And once they were signed, they weren't going to put him, throw him out the door and throw him to the wind. He does talk about that a little bit, not a lot, but he does talk about that. And anything specific about that you want to know? Because I think, I think you're right about this. Yeah, because when he heard them rehearsing or getting ready to record or something like that, he was a little bit like, no, this guy can't cut it. He doesn't have it. But then over time, he grew to really appreciate Dave, because he, like what the Van Halens realized, is he brings more than just singing. He brings showmanship that they needed.
So I want to touch
any
on
more
something.
appearances? I don't think so. Not that I know of. Not now.
You're talking about kind of their signature sound, and trying to come up with that, and about how much effort it took for them to come up with the signature sound.
Yeah,
And
a lot of effort in that.
And one thing that I'm going to give away, one of Eddie's secrets, one thing that helped him get his signature sound for songs like Running with the Devil and things like that, and Eruption and all that, was a cast iron JBL speaker. It was a 45-pound 12-inch speaker that he used to double track with, and it has that real searing, cutting sound. It's kind of like the JBLs that they used to put in the Fenders, how they're really clean, but when you overdrive them, they have a really like sizzly sound, and they don't sound that pleasant. But when you mix it in with the sound, it really just adds another dimension to it. And that's what they were doing back with those records, and that's why it sounds so killer. No one replicates it, because those JBLs are hard to find, they're expensive, and they're heavy as all hell. So no one really replicates that sound, and it's the key to that sound.
Yeah, I know for a fact, not just believe. I know for a fact, because it's just not me that talks about this, that there are a few things that really make your tone when it comes to electric guitar. It's probably 80-90% the pickups and strings, and then your cable, how short it is and how quality it is going into your amp, and then the speakers that the amp is pushing the air out through. And the speakers are a huge part of it.
I mean, that's
Um,
the voice. That's like your mouth.
that's the voice. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can be, oh, yeah. to prove a point. So he does not mention a part 2 of the book. And that's one of the burning questions that I would have liked to see an answer from. And just like it's always been, I think one of the things that the Van Halens have always been very good at, and I think this is something that we could all probably as fans agree, that the reason why he doesn't talk about it is because he knows if you don't talk about it, more people are going to be asking about it, and that's free publicity, and that's free of, you get more interest by people going, why didn't he talk about that? Why didn't he, and that would have been one, I bet you that was probably one of the questions that was most asked sent to them, because you could send in your questions when you bought the book and stuff. You could send in a question that they would read out, that the that Ariel Levy chose to ask him, and she was being light-handed, if you know what I mean, for the most part, no tough questions. Yeah, the band didn't, Templeman did. So no, I didn't see the lady at that interviewed him at the Smithsonian there. Let's see. And because he goes all the way up to, where the band breaks up with Dave, in his mind, he wants to remember it that way right now. Right now, he's there. He's in that point of, in his place, in his mind, in his feelings, in his heart. He's at that place right now. I'm going to solo me for a while Brent's gone. He's at that place right now when it comes to his feelings and what he wants to talk about. It was a cathartic experience for sure for him to put this in writing and then read it. And you can see by his demeanor on stage, when you guys watch that, those who are getting it, getting to watch the video, you'll see it really was a cathartic experience for him and helped him quite a bit. It was his therapy, and that's kind of why I think everything that they went through, he's gained a lot of wisdom from it, and like I say in the title and whatnot, that he lives to tell the tale, and we're all hoping to hear more about it because it's interesting. Before I met Johnny Bean and got all into Van Halen, kind of like a nerd too, in a way, I guess, I was never really into being a fan of anything. I'm not a fan. I don't even like the word fan comes from the word fanatic, by the way. So I don't think it's a good thing necessarily, but there can be good things about it, I guess. So yeah. Did he say anything about Michael? Not a lot, other than they really needed his vocals to back up Dave, because Dave wasn't capable of, together. One of the things he said is that together, the four of them as a band really made that band what it was. And that's why, to him, that era is more special. To him, that's when that's what they worked their butts off to achieve. Not that they didn't work hard with Sammy, but I think by that point it was easier. It wasn't as hard. And there's this side of him that seems to, you know, revel, or I don't know if reveling, nostalgically, he's looking back on that time as when, they fought for it and got it and achieved it and then done. And there's this saying, or there's a lot of psychology around this thing too, about when you reach your destination, when you're an Olympic athlete and you've gotten all the gold medals. Now what do I live for now? And some people have 1,000 things like me. I could achieve 1,000 things and have 1,000 more. There's not enough time in this life to do all the things I want to do. And maybe it has a lot to do with I read a lot as a young, person. A lot of my mom's books, I've read almost everything she read. So I read a lot. And by the time I was 13, 14 years old, I was pretty well schooled or educated about a lot of things in the ways of the world. And my problem was, what do I not do? What do I choose not to do? Welcome back, Brent.
Thank you.
So will he write a second book? I hope so. But does he need to write a second book for himself? No, he doesn't need to. I don't think he has to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. He doesn't have to. He doesn't need to. Doesn't need the money. Doesn't, I think that because the fans want it, maybe he will eventually. And he does talk a lot. This is really, really good news, you guys. And we've heard Johnny Bean talk about this quite a bit. If you haven't caught it on his show, go check that out. He does talk quite a bit about wanting to complete some of the music that he and Ed were working on, because they were a team. They worked out everything together. He was in the room or in the hallway or somewhere in the house when he heard Eddie practicing something. So like, hey, that thing, what's that? Keep doing that thing. We got to make a song about that. Let's start working on that. So he was always part of it. It wasn't just Ed alone. And I don't know if Ed could have done it without Alex either. Honestly, Alex's, drumming is exceptional. I mean, the guy is, if he's not considered one of the top drummers in the world, you're crazy, because what he did, and I don't know that many drummers out there that could probably even play with with Ed Van Halen. His way of doing things and playing is very eccentric and very spontaneous, and there'd be other drummers like, I don't know where he's going, throw the sticks away. Alex grew up playing with him, so they were a team. I mean, they were like symbiotic in that sense. Best of both worlds. They were two in one in many ways. Hey, what's happening? Dwight Bailey's in the house. What's up? Saying hi to everybody.
Yo, Dwight.
Dwight saying hi to all the folks. Yeah. What's up, dude? So cast iron, what is that in response to? Oh, the speaker.
JBL speaker, yeah. Because you know how a lot of speakers now are metal stamped. They're all, they're stamped metal essentially. Whereas that JBL was literally cast iron. It was ridiculously heavy.
Hey, look who you got in the chat. Welcome, Johnny Bean.
Hey, what up, Johnny Bean?
Hey, can you guys see me?
Yeah, we see you good.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Got your Starbucks already? Dang.
Pete's. Yeah, this is a good point by
oh, you got Pete's?
Bob
I didn't know you did that. You're cheating on Starbucks.
Oh, Johnny Bean cheating on Starbucks.
Don't tell them.
Yeah. So this is a really good point by Bob Sear, Johnny. What do you think of this? The times are really different, right? Imagine playing loud guitar and drums in an 800 square foot house in a neighborhood today.
Yeah, you'd either be loved by the police or hated by them.
I was doing it on Monday. I would have done it on Friday if I wasn't with Johnny down in LA. I do it at my friend Joe's house when we're practicing. It's loud as all get out. And I can show video of that if you want. It's loud as hell, and it's gloriously loud.
In fairness, he doesn't have an 800 square foot house, though.
No, he has about a 1,500 square foot house. Yeah, Ron's still at his daughter's house, so he can't join us. But cool. Have a nice day, Ron. Yeah, his daughter isn't that the one who has the store, right? Right, Johnny?
Yeah. I guess inherited a music store.
Cool. Really cool that they're working together and in a family business. I mean, he's working with his son too on a lot of stuff. So okay, John, let's see what John is. This is going to be controversial. I can tell by the start. Revisionist history, right? They both bagged Dave and gushed about Sammy from 85 until they busted up. The bad blood from that breakup is clouding his perception of the memories of that time. Well, obviously, he right now is going through, remorse and also, going through mourning his brother's death. And so he's trying to remember the good times. I mean, he talked quite a bit, right, Johnny, about how he cried and cries. And to him, Alex is not alone. Ed is still there with him. He's still actually there as in a spiritual way. To him, he's still there with him. He talks to him like he's there.
Alex says that energy doesn't go away. It just changes form. So he believes that, well, he's always called him Ed, Mm-hmm. He believes that Ed is still with him, and he talks to him,
Yeah. And the thing is that it's not about geez, I think the thing is that people get all bent out of shape about these things in a weird way. And I say weird in a way that you got to understand he's just telling his story, man. He didn't trash talk anyone. He just told it how it is from his feelings and perspective right now. To him, the band Van Halen was the band Van Halen when it was Van Halen with Roth. And I think it's because his favorite, he kept talking about Led Zeppelin as being one of their favorite, if not their favorite band. One of their favorite band. Ginger Baker is one of his favorite, drummers.
Zeppelin and Cream were their two
Zeppelin and
bands.
Cream.
And Dave Clark 5. Dave Clark 5 was like big for them.
Yeah. And the point being
name
is
always
that
gets me because that's my dad's name, Dave Clark. So it's
oh,
always
that's
funny.
Does he have 5 children?
Are you one of the 5?
Oh, you
I
one
know,
of the
right?
5?
David's my middle name too. So
that's
Brent
great.
David
Yeah.
Clark.
Brent Dave Clark.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Good thing it's not Kent. Anyway,
I got called Superman a lot when I was a kid.
Wrong
I didn't
button.
think it was that bad of a thing to be called, honestly.
Right. Anyway, that was the button I meant to hit. But yeah, the point is that like what we're trying to bring up here about this comment, right, is that I think Alex, that's just his feeling. And look at Zeppelin. They could have got another drummer, but they didn't, because to them, Zeppelin ended when John Bonham died. Bottom line. That's it.
Well, but they did
reunions
and they played with his son.
Right, but the point being, that's his son. But the point being is that Led Zeppelin didn't continue as a band, Led Zeppelin, and do another album like Ozzy did when Rhodes died. He replaced him, So they didn't continue on as a band. Whereas Van Halen did eventually continue on as Van Halen. Why? Well, they were Van Halen. And so they thought, well, we're Van Halen. But I think looking back now in retrospect, I think the way Alex sees it, the original Van Halen band was the Dave band. And that's why he doesn't talk about the rest right now, because maybe there's some ruffled feathers still. And I think right now, emotionally, from my music is therapy perspective, okay, emotionally right now, he doesn't want to think about the stuff that pisses him off and upsets him. He wants to think about the good times, and he wants to, reflect
I have a question.
on that. Yeah, shoot.
Are you hungover?
No, why would I be?
I
was at a gig, dude. Oh no,
yeah,
that's because my progressive sunglasses. I don't have my other ones anymore, and I removed my contacts last night, and I can't find another contact lens for my one good right eye, so I'm wearing these. So you can be cool too, Johnny Bean. Look at that. You have prescription sunglasses too. So these are my progressives.
I can't see with them though, close up. I have to take them off to see.
See, these are progressives, where at the bottom half, like bifocals, you can see.
Look,
like that's why I'm
all
going
cool.
like this. Yeah, there you go. We should do it like this every time. Anyway, we'd be like Ray Charles, right? One of my other favorites. Yeah. So
Ray,
what other
you
question?
You said it's true.
Right. So what's this thing about here about Out of Love? Alex said to listen to Out of Love again to hear the epitome of him and Ed talking to each other through their instruments. I mean, it's so amazing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah, right, Scott. And that's funny about what he says about Dave. He first called Dave. He said because he felt that he owed it to him. And that just shows you how magnanimous of a person, that's a magnanimous kind of it shows you where he's at in his life, no ego there. It was about doing what he felt was the right thing by his friend, Dave Roth, right? Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, I got to go for one thing.
Yeah.
Another thing.
Did you cut your hand? What? No, I just saw you put it up toward your hand. I thought something happened to your hand.
Yeah.
I can't see because I'm wearing dark glasses.
I know. We can't even see you.
I can't see can't see anything.
All right, I gotta go. See you guys later.
All right, catch Johnny later on his shows. Watch his shows because he's got some great. If anyone's here that don't know about Johnny Bean, go check out Johnny Bean TV. Thank you for joining us. Right on.
Magic Man, can I see you tomorrow?
Maybe, yeah. I was thinking about it. I was going to talk to Laz about that.
Yeah,
Come on down, man.
I might try to meet up with you guys if I can break away from here with all the things I have to do. I still have packages to package and send and stuff, you know.
Okay, enough with the jokes.
I'm
All right,
using
I'll see you
this
guys
right
later.
now. Still.
Bye-bye.
All right, see ya. Johnny Bean, everybody. He's tried so hard to get me to up my game, but I just don't listen to him, as he says. I just don't have time. I know what to do. I know exactly what I need to do. It's just a matter of finding time to do it. So it'll happen. Johnny says boo. I think he meant to say boo like as in a ghost, like boo, right?
It's a French ghost.
Okay. That's a good one. It's like boo. Totally in there. All right. Throwing shade, right? Yeah, Holly. Throwing shade. Yeah. I guess he could have called his wife and kids. Oh, I think they were there, man. They were all their family, so they're there. Dave wasn't there when it was happening. And Dave might not have been privy to everything that was going down because he talks a lot like me, and he probably would have spilled the beans in some way or another about Ed's condition that the family probably didn't want out there, right? So they probably, as usual, the Van Halens were trying to keep as much too close to the vest as possible.
No, he told Davis, he's like, oh, Dave will tell everybody, it'll be easy. Just kidding.
Yeah. You know, the family that could be there were there. Alex talks about you know, seeing his brother his last breath. He was with him at his last breath. So the last breath that Ed, you know, expelled into the world was with his brother and I'm sure other close family in the room that wanted or could handle being there, you know, because not everyone wants to be there. They don't want to see that or remember someone or have that memory. I've never had a problem with that. I remember holding my uncle's hand when he was in his last hours and his big hand, you know, big guy, big hand. And how I'm like, man, I was holding his hand, you know, telling him, man, I wish you were going to be here for a while longer so we can spend some of that time together outside of work that we've always wanted to do. But he was a working man. He was always working, kind of like Ed and Alex's dad was always working 7 days a week as a musician out there trying to make enough money for them. And when they finally made it and, you know, had enough money, they bought a house, what they call, Alex called their real house, which was like the house that they would want for themselves and family, and bought that for his parents. And then he actually says in the book he regrets having done that and took his father, saying to his father, you know, that you don't need to work anymore, Pops, you know, you don't have to do it anymore. You can just, you know, relax now. And they say that he really regrets that because his dad didn't have purpose anymore. They took his purpose away. His purpose was to provide for the family. And that's that older generation, you know, the older generation, like the generation that raised me and I feel I have similar, you know, maybe not as hard, you know, as my father or others, how strongly they felt this, but they felt they had a responsibility, the big R word, a responsibility to their loved ones to provide for them. That was their job in life. That was what their purpose in life was, is to provide for their family. That's what my uncle did. Even his son talked about it. You know, he wasn't even told me once. My cousin told me once, you were more of a father figure to me than my dad because he was never around. He was always working, but he provided for them to live what they needed to live and have a decent life. Maybe, you know, his son, I'm sure, just like the Van Halens, had hoped that their father could have been there more, you know, every day. And he talks quite a bit about all the lessons in life, the small lessons in life that they learned in little bits and pieces, but they were like, you know, diamonds, you know, sparse throughout the rocks of wisdom that taught them in a way where it wasn't like lecturing. It was more like this is how it is. This is, you'll learn this way. And they learn these things that way, especially Alex, because he worked with his dad. He was the older one, and while he was out gigging with his dad a few times, Ed was at home playing his guitar, right? Yeah, but purpose, right, Russ? Yeah, thanks for joining, man. Purpose-driven identity is a big one in the heart of a dude. And it's the same, for women. I'm not saying this as a sexist thing. I'm just saying this as like a female male role when it comes to, even just our species. The female role is typically the one that is raising the children or there with them all the time, kind of. Now these roles are mixed more, and I think that's a good thing because it gives men an opportunity to be part of the family life as well. In our industrial, economic, the way the economy is in the world for the most part, and how you're trained or taught, if you want to call it that, or manipulated or whatever, in educational systems today, you're taught to be a cog in the wheel of our machine of, the economies of the world working, right? Took me a long time to realize that, I don't have to do it that way. And there were times when I actually felt guilty that I'm out during the day shopping at the store. I felt weird that I'm shopping at the store. Everyone's out there working. I should feel bad. And I'm like, no, I'm actually, doing my thing. And that's okay, Laz. You can do your own thing. And you'll pay for it your own way. Whatever the costs are, whatever it is, you will find a way to do it your way. You don't have to do it their way or some other person's way. And,
No, you do not.
and it's not easy, because you're choosing that too. It's
Mm-hmm.
not easy, but at the same time, you have to do to thine own self be true, right? And seize the
Yep.
effing day too. All those things, seize the day. It's about now, man. We're talking about it right here. So there's a lot of wisdom, like in every family, Holly. And that's why family is so important. Let's get right back to that main point. And then, man, this one can go on and on. But I promised my sweetie we'd go somewhere today. She needs to get out of the house. Brothers, right? They're brothers. But he also mentioned, his bandmates as his brothers too. So I think at some point he'll get there, when he's ready. And there might be a part 2, or, there might be another part of the story. I'm hoping for that because there's a lot to the story that we can all learn from too. The sex, the drugs, the rock and roll, they lived it, man. Like I put in the title and the description too. They lived that life. All of it. The good and the bad, One of the things that I thought was really cool about reading, or listening to the audio portion is how he talks about, but one of the big differences is that they when it came to the women that they had in their lives throughout that, the sex part, and the drugs part and all that, the drugs is an enhancement to perception. People do drugs because it changes their perception of reality. And many people that talk about artists and art say that whatever art it is, just good luck, not finding drugs in there somewhere, because part of what the drugs do is it enhances or it changes your perception of reality, right? And or it stimulates you in some way, and it's part of the world. It's all part of what's out there in nature, and it's natural. Even animals do it. They use their own, they find ways to alter their perception, and it's natural. And so we try to make a lot of rules about controlling all this stuff because we see sometimes the behavior that can be destructive that comes out of it. But out of destructive things also comes new things. You see that also as a prevalent part of the universe. It's the yin and the yang of it all, right?
Well, but it comes back to that word you used earlier, responsibility.
Right.
You gotta be responsible with that and keep your priorities straight. Which is what's difficult is, like you said, it changes your perspective, it changes literally the chemistry of your brain temporarily.
Right.
So if you keep doing these drugs and you permanently change your mental state, then who knows if you're going to be capable of making the right decision or not. Some people are, some people aren't.
Right. And I think the responsibility side, the hard truth fact about that is that that mind side, the controlling mind of ours, is the one that tries to control the free reign crazy one, right? That wants to just try everything and do everything and kind of crazy. And like what Holly says, we all just, we all just need to be free. It's about that freedom to be what and who we want to be, but not a murderer or something. You know what I mean? Of course.
Yeah, that's that's why there's no easy answers really, to all this. It's something you all have to figure out along the way and try to pass down to the next generation so they understand how to get there a little easier than we did, kind of thing.
Right. I think what Holly says here is a good point that Alex says. Let's see how this book does, and then he'll see from there. There's already a lot of negative kickback from all kinds of media people that are trying to make a buck off of the controversy they try to stir up by, oh, he said this or he said that, or Dave putting out the Dance the Night Away video as a response to a dig that they perceive as something Alex said as a dig. The bottom line is that what Alex said, he didn't say anything negative. He said the truth about things. He may not have said all the truth and everybody's truth. He said his truth. That's another thing that we got to understand. This is his truth. It's his perspective on the life he and his brother lived. And he doesn't throw dirt at anyone, but he says it like it is. Van Halen 3, he wasn't a fan of that. And he wasn't a fan of his brother playing on Michael Jackson album. He talks about it, even though early on Dave was, showing he wanted to be a rock star, but he also wanted to be a movie star, and he also wanted to be, this jungle dude out there, exploring the universe. He wanted to be 1,000 things, but he definitely wanted to be famous, and he got that. He definitely wanted the success of that, and he was a good businessman in some ways, but in some ways it didn't always work out. The bottom line is that Sammy, of all people, is probably the most successful of them all when it comes to the music and how to run a business and all that. And I think he does talk a little bit about how that all worked out too, is that Sammy was more interested in the Cabo Wabo thing later in their band's career. Maybe he was getting tired too, and maybe, who knows, Ed,
he's a smart guy. He could see the writing on the wall. Like, I can't just be doing shows for the rest of my life to make my money. I need to do it other ways. And
right.
He just
and
did
family too. One of the things that Roth early on really didn't like was Valerie in the picture, because now suddenly here's this other superstar now that's getting all this publicity that he wants. And he's a egomaniac. I mean, everyone knows that. Bottom line is that he wanted more attention, and Ed got a lot of it. Later on, he was trying to tell Ed, don't do as much solos in the songs, and pushed Ed to not be the solo. He was trying to kind of put himself more in front, that it's him.
Who is that?
Dave. And when Valerie turned on the scene, not only did he have to not compete against Ed for the spotlight, he had to compete against Valerie in the public arena side of the band's, publicity and celebrityism and all that. Now he had to compete against Valerie too. So that was really the early start in the early 80s, the early start of their band's slow demise. You saw the writing on the wall, but it's also that I think Dave wanted freedom too. And once he got to a point where he could hire anyone like Steve Vai or put a band together and do whatever he wanted to, and he had some damn successful albums as well. Bottom line is that that whether or not Alex wants to talk about that stuff and talk about the Sammy years or not, that's up to him. I hope he does, because it would be interesting. But there's plenty of other things to read too. So if it never happens, it never happens. But it's going to leave a lot of the fans out there, again, yearning and hoping for more, right? Hey, Uncle Raymond's in the house. What's up, dude?
But that's one of the keys of being a great entertainer, is always leaving people wanting more. So there you go.
Yeah. One thing I think that you could say about Alex and Michael Anthony is I think he does say that the band at that time wouldn't have been the band that it was that became the big, the superstar band that it was, the biggest band in the world, if it wasn't for Michael Anthony's vocals and bass in that,
Oh, Michael Anthony's great. I love Michael Anthony. He's such a good. He's one of those guys that is just perfect in his role. You know.
And he's never said a dirty, nasty, any kind of word about any of it because, you know, he's just grateful to be where he's at. And I mean, he's got
He's
everything he
still got it,
needs.
man.
Right? He's got everything he could possibly. I mean, if you had half of what he had, you'd be happy with that, wouldn't anyone out there, right? So he was always happy, just like Ringo Starr. You know, how did Ringo Starr always got the best chick and, you know, the happy life and stuff? Because he didn't get involved in any of the drama. He didn't let it affect him either, and he just had a great time. You know, and I love that guy for that. And I love Sammy for giving him a job playing with his band after the Van Halens pushed him off the, you know, off the roll.
Yeah, Ringo's drumming's underrated,
you know?
too, but we don't need to go there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that, you know, don't even have to say that, right? So I think I gotta go, you guys. I pushed a little further past what I promised with my sweetie.
Yeah, it's almost noon.
What's up, Ryan? I saw you up here earlier too, Ryan.
What's up, Ryan?
Oh, yeah, right on, man. Yeah. All right,
Oh,
dude.
man.
Rock on, dude. Yeah, you're a good man. He's a good man.
Yeah, totally.
Taking care of Michael B. Also in the house. What's up, dude? Sorry I didn't see you up there. Yeah, Sammy was biz, successful with music and non-music. Yeah, real estate before joining Van Halen. He didn't need to be in the band, but you know, how do you not say yes to that? Especially after their first meeting, getting together, and they start jamming. Next thing you know, they're already writing songs. I mean, they just clicked. It was like when Ozzy met Rhodes. He's like, oh, he's the one, you know. That okay, that guy. Let's take him, you know, and hook him up with Bob Daisley, and next thing you know, 2 hit records until he's gone, you know. Yeah. And he was looking to get out of that too. Bob Daisley talks quite a bit about Rhodes wanting to quit because, for one, they weren't probably getting the fair share of what they should have been getting out of that because of you know who. Anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, shade thrown towards Michael Anthony while he was in the band. And you got to understand too that they were getting a lot of other people talking, you know, all them busy bees, the busy little bees, you know. Can't remember what that movie's from. The busy little birds buzzing. I think it was from Gladiator, you know. Those other voices talking in both Alex and Ed's ears about, oh, you're gonna let that guy take the money? He's not even writing any of this stuff. Why should you share any of that with him? He's lucky to even work with you guys. Blah 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 blah. And then you had all those people, you know, influencing. And at that time, you know, Ed was in pretty bad shape. He one thing that Alex, we'll end it on this because this is a therapy thing. For some people, therapy, like music therapy, can be a good thing. In many ways, the music, and this is my perspective on it, right? May be true or not. Music for Ed Van Halen was something he couldn't escape. It was around him. It was the one thing he could find that he was good at, not just good at, but became the best at, according to many, if not most. And he couldn't escape it even if he tried, right? It was something that came through him, as he speaks about. And that's something that I've always felt like when it's musical, something magical, it comes through you. You're just this vessel and you're just like expressing it out into the world with the best abilities physically and otherwise you have, right? And the thing is, emotionally, you might not always be able to handle all this stuff. And Ed was not an extrovert. He was an introverted, you know, quiet, shy, nice guy, a good kid, a punk, as he put himself. He was just a punk kid, you know. He was just a punk kid with genius talent that he developed and worked hard at. You're not born with it. Sorry, anyone out there. You think you might have some genes that will give you some, you know, abilities to some degree, a good hearing ear, maybe hear things well or whatnot. Doesn't mean that you're going to become a great anything. There are great musicians that went on to be a doctor, a politician, or, you know, a computer nerd or whatever, you know, building software for stuff, you know, or a neuroscientist like this guy who wrote this book that I'm reading now too. But now I'm kind of put that one aside while I'm finishing this one about the music and the brain and all that. He was a producer, produced stuff with like Blue Oyster Cult and others. Anyway, bottom line is that not everyone has that ability emotionally and whatnot to be able to handle everything that comes with being the best or greatest at something. And there's that double-edged sword of it. Like they say, be careful what you wish for, you know. Alex talks about, when you get to that crossroads, right? The crossroads. They're one of their favorite musicians. Eric was one of his favorite. Clapton was one of Ed's favorite musicians, especially the Cream era. Is what Alex really liked. And he talks about, he sold his soul to the devil down by the crossroads kind of thing. That's what that's all about, is that you will pay for this in one way or another. Just like any success, no success is derived without some, what would be the best word? Tragedy is probably the wrong word. There's, you're going to have your ups and downs. There's the yin and the yang, like we were talking about before. I mean, you can't get there without going through some tough times and seeing some things you wish you hadn't seen, any of that kind of stuff. And it's part of our experience in life here. And I think Alex is in a good place right now. Seeing him up on stage and talking, if anyone watches that, you get the ability to watch that. You purchase the book with the video of that interview, or get the audiobook, and that's amazing as well. The bottom line is that he is in a good place right now. He's in a much better. He was broken physically and emotionally. He broke his back. That's why he wasn't playing drums, and why ultimately he won't be doing a reunion tour of any kind. I don't think it could happen, but I doubt it. What would, if you could, Sammy would do it. He would do it. Dave, I don't think, wants to do it, because he found every excuse or said whatever he had to say to kind of slip out of that one, from my perspective. He didn't really want to do it. Yeah, strife is a good word. Fruitcake. Yeah. What's up, dude? Tony. Cushman also here. What's up, Cushman? So I'm going to end the show, you guys. We've got a lot of things we got to do today. Oh, good. Amanda called you and gave me the rundown about Alex's meeting. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. And honestly, Raymond, if you can afford to buy the $17 audiobook, it's great to hear Alex tell the tale with his own voice, right? It really is great. I can't read it now without hearing him reading it, in a sense. So his voice is reading it, even though I'm reading it. Do you get what I mean? It is what it is. So that's going to be the show for today, you guys. Thanks for coming. I hope you had a good time here today. If you have any questions that were unanswered, or you want to know more, feel free to hit me up. Like I say in the description here, if you have a topic you'd like to have discussed on this show, or one on the Gear and Demo show, I do plan to continue with the, where is it? Right over there, the Steve Vai Spark Mini that I have. I think I might have to send them an email with a video and say, hey, this is how this is supposed to sound, because it's making this bad kind of speaker sound that sounds like a bad speaker. And these were pre-ordered kind of things that sold out, so you can't go compare it to another one in the store and see if it's wrong or right. I could go play it up against another Spark Mini, and see how it sounds, but I haven't found a store nearby that has those. It said Guitar Center doesn't anyway. I'll find out. So yeah, Fruitcake, I usually do this show at 10 my time, so 1 p.m. Eastern, and I go from 10 to 11. Today I started at 10:30 just because I had some work to take care of here on the property. I manage a property, and I had to take care of something. So that's the way it goes when you manage a property. Sometimes things happen you got to take care of right away. So everyone else, yeah, thanks, Blackjack Guitar. Have a great day. Amanda rocks. By the way, I did give something to Amanda as kind of a feel better, even though she is feeling a lot better kind of gift. Let me show it to you guys. I got a picture of it. She's awesome, obviously. Yeah, she's going to be putting some music together with Bob Daisley of, Randy Rhoads fame, right? So this is something else that's coming soon to a music therapy Laz show. If you guys know what that is, it's still in the plastic. It's right over. Should I grab it off here it is. So I'm not fooling. There she blows, still in the plastic. The Randy Rhoads MXR Distortion Plus is going to be on next week, Thursday. Gear and Demo show. And I do want to, or maybe I'll mess around with it for a little while before I put it on the show. And I do want to do the deeper dive on this thing, the Steve Vai with the mandala, the Steve Vai custom color signature with cable and all, which I don't use because it's too short to really play. You pull the thing off a shelf or whatever if you try to play with that, unless you're sitting right near it, you know. So I use a wireless setup for that when I'm playing in the living room or whatever. It's really nice to have that. But I haven't dug into the app yet, so I got to load the app on my phone and dig into all the other presets that you can get through the app. So that'll be coming on the show. And I still have lots of other pedals and stuff. Like I have those ones that Hoborodi sent to me. Thank you, Hoborodi. Those very special pedals in those white boxes. And what else? We got some packages to get out, like for Ryan Hall. So by the time you get home, maybe I'll have a package to you in about a week. A very big package, very big one. And then Janice is, of course, going to receive this from me because I now have an interface and I just have to hook it all up. It's going to take some time to do all this, but I will get it done. So I have this really nice SSL interface that I want to hook it all up properly, not just for the show. That's the thing that Johnny Bean, is talking about. It's easy. Just do it. Yeah. If I just set it up only for the show, it's easy. I'm setting it up as the interface for my studio here to produce music as well. So it takes time to think through all that and figure out how I'm going to hook it all up. I still probably have to get some other cabling. All these things cost money and take time. So it'll take a little time to get it all done. But I will be able to hook that up just for the shows real simply. It's not a big deal. I'll get it done for Thursday. And we'll try to get some higher quality level audio for you guys in these shows, especially for the demo stuff as I'm going forward with the show. So the Thursday show, the gear and demo show. So until next time, watch for my stuff on Instagram and Facebook. I don't do a lot of stuff on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, or TikTok, but that is what it is. I only have so much time and so much energy for this stuff, right? Brian, you know what it's like trying to get this stuff, to put stuff out. It's time consuming, right? So you got to have time for it. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, of course. I barely even have 1,000, not even 1,000 subs yet. So I'm not even there to where I feel like, I deserve monetization. But I think I'm going to start doing that because I think that might put me over that hump. I need to do something different to get me going. I haven't really grown, much. So I think if I change things up that way, it's going to help quite a bit. I hope. So we'll see. So yeah, it was great. Amanda's doing better, you guys. Just so you know, peace, love, and courage to all. That's a great thing courage. We definitely all need more of that. And yeah, rest on your courage. Have courage to face the day. Right? Drive by like, thank the algorithm, right? Exactly, right? It's tough to figure all that stuff out. You have to spend some time on understanding how it all works. So yeah, right? So everybody have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me, Magic Man, Brent Clark, as we know him, Superman's little brother. Have a great one, y'all, and then we'll see you on. Are you going to do a live show at some point again, or anything? Forcing you to turn your mic on.
You muted me.
Oh, did I? How? By accident?
No.
Like, so when I did myself solo, and then I went back to this.
I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I'm thinking about even going live today. Thinking about it because
go vote.
Even though there's going to be a lot of people streaming today, but I've been wanting to show off the. I was going to go live Friday, but I ended up having to work, so it didn't work out. So somebody might have seen the show I created, but it never went live. But yeah, so I might go live today to show off these pickups I put in the SG. I put in some Lindy Fraglins, and they sound so good. They sound really, really good. They say it's night and day difference. It's crazy.
Wow, it's amazing. Right on. Well, I will put into the chat here the last show I did, which was the late Gear and Demo show, because
super late.
We did it at super late. I think it was what, at 10:30 or 11 o'clock. I think we started
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, right? Yeah, let me
West
put
Coast
that into
time,
the
11
chat.
o'clock.
West Coast time, 11 o'clock, 2 a.m. for some of you out there in the East Coast, and who knows what time it was elsewhere in the world. In Timbuktu, it was probably 4 p.m. in the afternoon. But did you get the email about the Plex? So I'll check my emails after this. I've got some stuff to do with my sweetie, but I'll check my emails, and yeah, if there's something you need me to take care of, dude, I will be your Huckleberry, as in one of my favorite movies was said. I love that Tombstone movie, man. He was brilliant in that. So yeah, can't wait to hear you. Yeah, I mean, I love watching Brent play, and it was really
Now,
fun playing the drums to you playing that one time. We got to do that more.
yeah, dude, I want to play. I've been playing more recently too, and I'm trying to keep getting better. It's fun.
I'll find out if we can get into Joe's place Monday night when you guys might be down here tomorrow. Maybe we can go there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know.
No, she didn't tell me who. We didn't get that deep into the conversation, Uncle Raymond, but she just told me that she did finally find, after going through several specialists, she finally found one that properly diagnosed her. And then she put that, that GoFundMe out there. I donated $50 to her. I'm not sure if, they're at their goal yet. I know she had like a $7,000 goal to help her pay for all the expenses. And, it's just her and her boyfriend living together and trying to make a life for themselves. She's away from her family. It's mostly in Detroit, in Michigan. That's not easy. I know how that is when you live away from family. When I lived in Ohio, it was tough when I was away from all my family here in California. You don't have that support system around you all the time. You can call them and talk to them and stuff. It's not the same. You can't go over and have meals with them and hang out, go to movies with family and stuff, and those family events that are, part of life, and you miss out on that. It's part of the American experience, I think. That's different in some ways, and a lot of Europeans have more of a community that they grow up in and live with for most of their lives, whereas we break off and go out and conquer the world or whatever it is, right? So, and many of them do that now too. Of course, a lot of Europeans go all over the world as well and do that. But she didn't tell me who, but thank God, and thank whoever that person was. If there is a God or not, that's up to you if you believe in that or not. Bottom line is, thank the makers. thank whatever. Let's be thankful to whoever it is you want to thank. Let's just be grateful and thankful that we are all in a better place in some ways. And if you're not in a better place, I've met some people over the weekend that I could tell they were not in a very good place in life, and it was sad to see that. It always hurts my heart when I see people suffering that are lost and don't know where they are and have some really messed up thoughts and beliefs and ideas about what it's all about, and they express themselves with anger and hatred toward others because of that. It's sad to see that. You can't change them. You can't change those people. And part of the reason why I do this show is because I want to help in that regard the best way I can, in the most positive kind of way I can. I'm opinionated and I have my attitude about things too, and what I believe is fact or not. I have my opinions on things too. That can rub people the wrong way sometimes. I talk a lot. I talk too much sometimes, But I have things that I want to say, I guess, and I think what I have to say has some value. And I hope you guys get something out of that. And if not, tell me why not and what you want me to talk about. And I'll talk about something you want to talk about. Put it in the comments after the show. Hit that like, subscribe, all those things. Share the channel. I saw like 5 new people here today that I never saw in the chat before. So I'm appreciative of that. However you guys came here. Maybe Tony brought some of those people in. I don't know. Because he popped in and then I saw some other new people here. So however you're finding me, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the show by just viewing it. And like I said, tell me if there's a subject or a topic that's relating to therapy, music therapy in particular, how music can change lives and save lives and make a difference, a positive difference in your life. Alex and Ed Van Halen both experienced the highs and the lows of the music industry and how music can be a very freeing, thing. It can free you in some ways, but there's the dark side too. So it can also be tough. So always reach out to others, your family and friends. And if you don't have family that are supportive, find others that will. And there's the knock. Thanks, honey, for letting me do this for as long as you did. Way longer than I expected she'd let me chat. Have a great, not that she has to let me, we have things to do. Rock on, everybody. Be good to each other. All right. The golden rule, right? Be good to each other. Treat others as you'd want them to treat you. And rock on.